Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Tales of Darkness. Tonight's stories come from people who were living their lives the way they always had: quiet routines, familiar places, nothing unusual, until something stepped into their world without permission. Some of these encounters began with a simple mistake. Others started with a moment of curiosity. But all of them ended the same way, with someone realizing they weren't alone, and that whatever was with them wasn't supposed to be here. Before we start, turn off the lights. Make sure you're alone. And if there's a window nearby, don't look at your reflection. These stories aren't exaggerated or dressed up. They're quiet events that happened when no one was watching, and when the people involved least expected it. Let's begin. My name is Elena Rivas, and what happened in my home still makes me uncomfortable talking about it. It started on a night when my family kept a tradition we'd followed for as long as I can remember. We set up an offering table: candles, food, and small things meant to honor those who aren't here anymore. It was something my mother took seriously. She always said those hours didn't belong to the living. That night, the house felt warm and familiar. The smell of food filled every room. My mother moved quietly, placing everything in the right spot. She treated the offering like a doorway you didn't joke around with. We would have been fine if the house hadn't filled with unexpected visitors. Relatives, neighbors, friends, people who showed up for the food more than the tradition. It became loud, crowded, and messy. At some point, under all that pressure, my mother made a choice she shouldn't have. She took food off the offering table and handed it to the people who were visiting. No one thought it mattered, except the house. The first sign came from our dog. He started pacing in tight circles, stopping to stare at the offering with his ears down. Then he let out a low growl at a corner of the room where no one was standing. A minute later, our cat approached the table. That's when things shifted. She stepped onto the embroidered cloth and didn't move. I don't mean she froze. I mean she couldn't lift her paw. It looked like something underneath the cloth was holding her there. She twisted and clawed desperately, her back legs scraping the floor. My mother screamed for me to help. I grabbed scissors and cut the cloth around her paw until she came loose. The cat ran into the hallway and disappeared. No sound, no meow, just gone. The house went quiet, too quiet. Then a candle fell. No breeze, no movement around it, just tipped over on its own. The torn piece of cloth caught fire instantly. My mother reacted fast and put it out, but by then she didn't have to say anything. We both understood. We had taken something that wasn't ours. My mother admitted out loud what she did. Her voice shook while she tried to fix the offering table, putting things back the way they were supposed to be. She whispered an apology into the air, not like a prayer, more like someone asking to be forgiven by something standing right in front of her. The pressure in the room slowly lifted. The silence became normal again. The house felt like itself. But none of us forgot the feeling that something had come through and was watching the moment it realized the food meant for it had been taken by the living. I learned something that night, something I wish wasn't true. The food on an offering isn't just food. It's a signal. And if you break that signal, whatever was supposed to receive it might still show up and expect to be fed. My name is Javier, and I used to think all of this was just superstition. I lived alone in an old apartment building downtown. The place wasn't dangerous, just worn-out creaking floors, old wiring, strange stains on the ceiling that were probably just water damage. Nothing paranormal, nothing scary. That made what happened even worse. It started on a night when most of my neighbors were setting up offering tables. I wasn't planning on doing one. I'd never taken it seriously. But as the evening went on, I saw people walking up and down the stairs carrying candles, flowers, bread, and photos. The whole building started to smell like incense and warm food. I didn't want to be the only one ignoring it, so I put together something quick. I didn't have photos, didn't have flowers, didn't have names. I didn't bother searching for any. I just grabbed a few quesadillas, some fruit, a glass of water, and an old candle I had in a drawer. I set everything on a small table by the window and called it a symbolic offering. Nothing more. I watched videos until I fell asleep. The candle flickered in the corner of my eye like it was trying to get my attention, but I ignored it. My first warning came in a dream. In the dream, I was still in my apartment, but it looked wrong. The hallway stretched longer than it should. The walls leaned in slightly, like the place was breathing. The only real light came from the candle on the table. Something tall stood outside my window. Too tall. It had no face, just a dark shape pressed against the glass. It leaned closer, staring at the table like it knew exactly what I'd set out. Then, without moving, without breaking the window, it was suddenly inside, crouched low, folded in half, too many angles bending the wrong way. It hovered over the food, like a starving animal that didn't understand how to act human. It turned its head toward me, and I woke up instantly. My heart was racing. I was sweating. I told myself it was just a nightmare. Then I heard something coming from the kitchen. A wet sound. Fast. Panicked. Like someone eating without stopping to breathe. I got out of bed, even though I knew I shouldn't have. My legs felt numb. My hands were shaking. I opened my bedroom door just enough to look through the crack. Something was crouched at my table. It looked almost human, but the proportions were wrong. Its knees stuck out to the sides. Its arms dragged on the floor like they didn't know where to rest. Its skin looked dry and cracked, peeling in layers. And it wasn't eating. It was smearing the quesadillas across its face, pressing the food into its skin, absorbing it somehow. The thing froze, then lifted its head slowly. Its eyes were white, not glowing blank, like they didn't work, but somehow still saw me. My entire apartment went silent. Then the creature let out a sound. I'll never forget, something like it was trying to swallow air and chew at the same time. It jerked sideways and slipped toward the kitchen, dragging one leg behind it. It didn't walk or run. It slid. I slammed my bedroom door and backed away until my shoulders hit the wall. The scraping sounds got quieter, then stopped completely. I didn't leave the room for a long time. When I finally gathered enough courage, I called my neighbor, Inez. She came with her husband, and the moment she saw my face, she didn't ask what happened. She already seemed to know. The apartment smelled like burnt wax and something sour. The table was a mess. The food was smeared everywhere. The candle had burned almost all the way down. She looked at the table, then at me. "Did you put photos?" she asked. I shook my head. "Did you put flowers?" Another shake. She sighed. "Offerings need direction. Without photos or names, you're not calling anyone specific. You're just opening a door and letting whatever is passing by take a seat." She pinched the candle's flame out with her fingers. I swear something pulled back through the walls when the light went out. I didn't sleep again that night. Or the next. Now I understand something I didn't believe before. When you put food out without saying who it's for, you're not honoring anyone. You're inviting anyone. And sometimes, the one who shows up is something you never wanted at your table. My name is Fernanda, and what I'm about to tell you is something my family has repeated for so long that it feels like a memory, even if I wasn't the one who lived it. It happened in a small town where nights are darker than they should be, and the streets stay quiet long after everyone goes home. A family was driving back late one night after a small gathering. It was a calm drive, empty roads, barely any lights. Their dog sat in the back seat, quiet, staring out the window. Nothing unusual. Until they saw her. A little girl in a white dress, standing alone in the middle of the street. She didn't wave them down. She didn't cry. She didn't move at all. She just stood there with her head lowered, hair covering her face. The mother told them to stop. Leaving a child alone at that hour wasn't something they could ignore. The father slowed the car and rolled down the window, asking if she was okay. The girl didn't answer, didn't react, didn't even flinch. That's when the dog started barking. Not a normal bark. A desperate one, high, panicked, like it was warning them about a fire or an attacker. But it wasn't barking at the girl. It was barking at something around her, something none of them could see. The mother ignored the dog and opened the back door, telling the girl to get in so they could take her home. The girl stepped inside without a word and sat down, keeping her head down the entire time. The air in the car felt heavier as soon as she entered. The dog crawled under the front seat, shaking uncontrollably. It wouldn't look at her. It wouldn't look at anything. The family started driving again, and the mother gently asked the girl where she lived. No answer. She asked again. Still nothing. Instead, the girl slowly lifted one arm and pointed straight ahead. The direction she pointed toward was the family avoided an area near the old canal, a stretch known for accidents and things people didn't talk about. The farther they drove, the darker the road became. The headlights barely cut through it. Finally, the father stopped the car. Something didn't feel right. The mother turned around to help the girl out. That's when the girl raised her face. The mother screamed. The girl's skin was gray and cracked, like it had dried out long ago. Her eyes were nothing but dark pits, empty and unmoving. Her mouth opened slowly, revealing small, worn teeth that looked like they'd been grinding things no child should ever touch. The smell that came from her wasn't just dirt. It was old, rotten, like something that had been pulled out of the ground. The mother grabbed a small bottle of holy water they had brought with them and splashed it toward the girl. The girl didn't cry out. She didn't run. She laughed, a sound that didn't come from her throat. It came from the direction of the canal. The girl dropped down from the car, not stepping, not climbing, just slipping out of view like something had dragged her downward. She vanished into the tall grass beside the road. The dog whimpered, scratching at the window until they drove away. Later, when the family told the story to the elders in town, they weren't surprised. They said the girl had been seen before, always in white, always silent. Drivers who picked her up said she never asked for home. She only pointed toward the canal. And anyone who looked directly at her face regretted it, because whatever climbed into the car with them wasn't a lost child. It was whatever had taken her first. My name is Sofia Vega, and what happened to me started the day I visited a cemetery with my mother. It wasn't a holiday or anything special. We were just leaving flowers and saying a few words. But the moment I stepped past the gate, something felt wrong. A sharp pain hit me right between the eyes. Not like a headache, more like something cold pressing into my skull from the outside. My mother grabbed my arm and immediately covered my head with a scarf. "If it hurts when you enter," she said quietly, "it's because something noticed you." I didn't know what she meant. I didn't want to. That night, my house didn't feel like my house. The shadows looked too long, like they were stretching toward empty spaces. The floor didn't creak like wood. It creaked like something underneath it was shifting around. I tried to sleep, but the dreams started immediately. At first, they weren't supernatural, just violent. Accidents, fights, blood, things meant to distract me. Then the real dreams began. I saw myself lying on a stone surface under an orange sky. A woman stood beside me, whispering in a soft, comforting voice. She told me to come with her, that she could keep me safe, that all I had to do was stand up. Her voice felt familiar and warm, too warm. She sounded patient. She sounded hungry. Every night she came closer. One morning, before the dream could finish, another voice cut through it rough, panicked, yelling at me not to move, not to follow her, not to touch her. I woke up completely frozen. I couldn't lift my arms, couldn't turn my head. Sleep paralysis pinned me down so hard I could barely breathe. Something heavy moved across my legs, crawling upward at a slow, deliberate pace. The mattress dipped beside me. Then I heard laughter. Not adult laughter, children's laughter. From under the bed, a storage box underneath began to shift and scrape against the floor. Something was pushing it from the inside. And then she appeared. A woman crawled up from under the bed, if you can still call her a woman. Her hair hung in long, wet strands. Her skin was pale enough to reflect the little light in the room. Her eyes weren't eyes at all, just deep, dark holes. Her mouth opened slowly, revealing broken teeth buried in decaying gums. The smell coming off her was damp earth mixed with something sweet and rotten. She reached out and touched my cheek. Her nails were long and yellow, packed with dirt like she'd just dug her way out of something. The cold from her hand spread down my jaw and stayed there. Then she lifted one finger to her lips. A clear warning. Silence. I tried to scream. My body didn't respond. All I could do was feel her breath against my face, warm and humid, with a taste that shouldn't belong to anything alive. When I finally broke out of the paralysis, she was gone, but the smell remained. And the mattress still had a dip, like someone had been sitting there. A few days later, my cousin visited and took a casual picture of me in the living room. When we looked at it, we both froze. The woman was in the photo, standing behind me, leaning forward, her hollow eyes fixed on my shoulder. Her mouth was stretched almost to her ears in a smile that looked like her skin wasn't built to handle it. That's when my mother realized this wasn't just dreams. Whatever had noticed me in the cemetery had followed me home. We went to a healer, an older woman who had seen this sort of thing before. She didn't act surprised when she looked at me. She acted concerned. She told me I had walked into that place without protection, and something had chosen me. Not to kill me. Not yet, but to slowly feed on me, on my energy, my strength, my ability to resist. She warned me, if it feeds enough, One day you won't wake from the paralysis, not because it attacks you, but because it convinces you to go with it. The cleansings took weeks. The dreams eventually stopped, but even now, on nights when I'm exhausted, I wake up with the feeling that something is sitting at the foot of my bed, waiting, watching, counting how much energy I have left. This last story is for my dog, Luna. She's gone now, but before she passed, she had a strange habit everyone noticed. She never barked at night. Not once. No matter what she heard outside, no matter who walked in the hallway, she stayed silent after dark. It was like she understood that night wasn't something you challenged. I live in a small apartment where every sound echoes. That year, I set up a simple offering table, nothing elaborate, just a few candles, a little food, and some things that reminded me of people who aren't here anymore. It didn't cross my mind that lighting a candle might open anything. But something did. The night I lit the last candle, I fell asleep quickly, and the dream that came wasn't vague or confusing. It was so clear that waking up felt like the fake part. I dreamed I was sitting up in bed. The air felt unstable, warm, and cold at the same time. Voices echoed from outside, like a crowd walking past my building without touching the ground. Then, something appeared in the doorway. It didn't enter. It didn't move. It was just suddenly there. A tall shape wrapped in something that looked like wet, heavy fabric. No face. No features. Just a shifting mass of dark smoke holding a human outline. It drifted toward my bed. Every second it got closer. The room felt smaller. Luna was lying near my feet. In the dream, she didn't move. She didn't react. She just breathed slowly, like she didn't know what was near her. The shadow leaned down toward her first, as if smelling her, as if deciding. I tried to grab her, but I couldn't move. My arms felt locked in place. My voice wouldn't come out. Just when the shadow reached toward her, I woke up. My eyes opened fast, but my body was still frozen for a moment. I couldn't call out, couldn't turn my head. Then I heard Luna. She was awake, and she was barking. Luna never barked at night, ever. But she was standing on my legs, staring at the exact corner of the room where the shadow had been in the dream. Her entire body was tense, her teeth exposed, growling at something she could clearly see. I couldn't. She jumped off the bed and ran down the hallway, barking like she was trying to scare something out of the apartment. I followed her, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Her barking moved from room to room. First the hall, then the living room, then the kitchen. When I finally reached her, she was frozen in place, staring at the offering table. Her bark dropped into a low, broken sound, like she was looking at something that felt wrong. The candles flickered even though there was no draft. The air warped slightly, hotter in some spots, colder in others. That's when I understood something I didn't want to understand. Luna wasn't chasing anything away. She was trying to keep something from coming closer. Something connected to the offering. Something that wasn't supposed to cross over. My aunt, someone who's always been able to sense things, once told me that offering tables act like doorways. You don't control who uses them. Some arrivals are your own. Some aren't. That night, Luna stood between me and whatever was coming through. She was small, shaking, but she didn't move. She didn't back away. She waited until the temperature in the room dropped sharply, then spiked back up, like a large breath pulling away. Luna, stopped barking. She went quiet and leaned against my leg, trembling. I didn't see anything leave. There was no figure, no sound, just the sense that something had retreated back through the space we had accidentally opened. Luna passed months later, but not because of this. Still, every year when I set up the offering table, I think about that night. I don't do it to invite anything. I don't even do it for tradition. I do it because part of me hopes Luna will come back, just to stand guard, just to make sure nothing crosses through again, just to watch the doorway I didn't know how to close. That wraps up tonight's stories on Tales of Darkness. If you're still listening right now, it probably means one thing. Something in these stories felt a little too familiar. Most people think these things only happen far away or to someone else. But the truth is, the people who sent in these experiences were just living normal lives. They weren't looking for anything supernatural. They weren't trying to make contact. They weren't expecting anything strange to find them. But it did. A broken offering, a careless invitation, a silent child on a dark road, something that followed someone home, and a shadow that only a dog was brave enough to stand against. None of these people wanted attention from the other side, but something reached for them anyway. So before you go to sleep tonight, do one thing. Make sure you haven't opened any doors you didn't mean to. Blow out whatever you forgot to blow out. And if your pet starts acting strange, pay attention. Animals notice what we ignore. Thank you for listening to Tales of Darkness. If you want more stories like these, or if you have one of your own, make sure to follow and subscribe. Stay safe, stay aware, and as always, good night.